Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are at, and welcome to the Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And to everybody that's in the chat, Colin P. Smith, Lewis X Sparrow, Bureau 31, all the usual suspects, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in this afternoon or this evening, wherever you're at, and wherever you may be watching out there in the grand internet. And today, we're covering the episode from Season 3, Episode 2, Convictions. And with me, as always, I've got my two fellow council members, Vienna Wolf and Classic Comics. And unfortunately, our other fellow council member, Mountains of Elysium, his wife is not feeling so well, so he will not be joining us today. And to Mrs. Elysium, our prayers are with you, ma'am. We hope you get to feeling better. So, with that all being said, make sure you smash the ever-loving heck out of that like button. Share this stream out with all your friends who love great sci-fi, classic sci-fi. And that all being said, how we all doing, folks?
Doing fine.
Yep. Ignoring the news by writing. Yeah!
Yes. Anyway, and thankfully, there have been no tragic losses in the Babylon 5 community this week. And no, I'm not making light of that fact. Do not misunderstand me, folks. But today we can just dig into the episode and do our thing. What are we going to do tonight, Ambassador? The same thing we do every night. Discuss Babylon 5. So, and also to the chat, Sir Nerdlot. Good afternoon, Nerdlot. Good to see you once again. Glad you're here, bud. This episode it's kind of a filler, but it does present the opportunity for some interesting discussions. So, I yield the floor.
Brother Theo! He came back! Well,
Yes.
he used to crawl, but he came back!
So, that's not drawl.
No, that was Draw initially, like way back when, before
that
the
was-
machine rejuvenated him, and then the guy who plays Theo.
Oh,
Yes.
Same actor.
that's the same
Yep.
guy?
Yeah, because he wanted to come back, but he was sick at the time, so he couldn't come back as Drawl, so Straczynski wrote him in as Brother Theo and his awesome monks. Whee!
Oh. Well, now I just feel silly. To quote the late great Robin Williams from Aladdin, well, I just feel sheepish. How did I not realize that was drawl? Wow.
The original known as Drawl, and then there's the other Drawl.
Except no substitute. Yes, we have Brother Theo drawl and Klingon Ambassador drawl. I kind of like Klingon Ambassador drawl just a little bit better, but I like both draws are awesome. They're so very drawl. So, anyways, folks, Vienna Classic. I've done my spiel and everything. Where do we want to dig in on this episode? So,
Well, first, I just wanted to mention I think it's really unfortunate Mountains isn't here because from some of the content he's put on his channel regarding Babylon 5, he's clearly very fond of the Brother Theo character, and I'm sure he would have had some
yes.
things to say about that. So it's too bad he's missing this.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess there's Yeah, go for it.
No, go ahead, Vienna. Go on.
No, I was just thinking, it's like, wait a second, it's a positive display of Christianity? What? What? In media?
Yes, such a thing can happen. And even though J. Michael Straczynski is not a person of faith, I do, as always, appreciate his approach to matters of faith. So, Mr. Straczynski, wherever you're at, JMS, we say thank you, myself
Yeah,
included.
I think in Babylon 5, he really depicted, I think, religion fairly. He wasn't blind to its shortcomings, but he wasn't, he didn't as it is so often depicted in media these days, it isn't depicted as being an entirely negative thing.
Nope. He usually did it just to kind of like make a point or bring up something up that like what made humanity a little bit different from some of the aliens around them, where they're good at building communities, that sort of thing. He wasn't always concentrating on like, how does humanity fuck up? Like, no, sometimes he would concentrate on like, what do we do well? What an interesting concept.
Yes. Of course, this episode does kind of play off of the whole. I'm trying to remember. Was this the episode with the two funny Drazi that were bugging Zach? This was the episode with the two funny Drazi. That's
Yes,
right.
the pilgrims, and if you want your holy knife, well, I could put it outside the station, and we can see if you can really
No,
get
it's not
it.
those two. It's the two that were wanting diplomatic access
Like
or missionary
Droshala.
mission. No, yeah, because of Droshala, and and you had the running gag of them, of Zach and Garibaldi pronouncing
Oh,
Droshala
right.
incorrectly.
Yeah, and plus they were poking poke the plant. It was closer to the holy site than I was. Yeah, that's right. Because they started poking Zach. They started poking the plant. They started poking everything. You have been blessed. Oh
Yes.
no.
And I'll bring up Louis X Sparrow's comment here. It's not religion that's the problem. It's what people do in the name of religion. You know what, Louis? I would honestly agree with that. Yeah, religion in itself is a good. Okay, I don't want to say idea, but it is a good thing. But unfortunately, people do stupid things in the name of whatever religion or religious belief structure that they belong to, except for maybe one or two. So, but yeah. And of course, we get our wacky mad bomber. And of course, we get Mr. Lanier being awesome as he often is. And of course, you have. Okay. Now that I've done a little more research and digging, Mr. Lanier had a case of Netter's syndrome,
Yes.
which is kind of a little jab and everything, but I think a playful and kind jab at one of the producers. I think it was Douglas Netter from the production. So he's like, "I will do penance later." But that's the one thing I've always loved about Babylon 5. It's able to interject humor with right before or inside of dramatic situations. And in this case, you've got a serial bomber. Anyway, I feel like I've kind of run off at the mouth. Vienna Classic. I'm going to shut up and y'all talk.
Well, again, the most memorable part of this episode, besides Sheridan getting to punch yet another crazy person, but then the crazy person gets to punch him back, and then it's like, oh no! Just like when his pants were talking to him earlier, and actually, I think they've done that gag a couple of times, even with Sinclair in season 1, when Sakai was like, "Those pants are talking to you." Well, his darn the way he landed on his butt, that didn't help him when they were trying to get rid of the bomber. But no, it's the elevator scene that really gets it. That's the star of this episode, is the elevator scene between Jakar and Londo.
I have to agree. Go ahead, Classic.
I was gonna say I love how Andreas Katsoulis plays that scene because it could have been very grim and dramatic and all that, but he kind of plays it for laughs. Where our Jakar is just loving the irony that he's gonna die, but he's gonna get to watch Londo die too, or so he thinks.
Yeah, and I will say this: I think Andreas Katsoulis had great comedic timing.
Yeah,
and he did that. Yeah, you said it perfectly. That whole part and everything could have been probably very dour and very down and very grim and depressing. But help, we're in here. Does anyone hear me? I hear you. You're sitting there and they're like, they are trapped in this elevator. They could quite literally die, but you could not help but laugh along at your car. Yeah. Well, and I can't remember what comedian that said it, or whatever the case may be. But the very nature of death kind of lends itself to humor, in a manner of speaking. And I think that's very prevalent here with Jakar's attitude. He's like, I may die, but you're going to die with me, and I don't have to do a gosh darn thing but sit here and wait. And then, of course, they're both discovered. He's lost some recovery or rescue team's like, hey, we've got 2 more down here. And Londo's like, you see, we're going to live. And Jagar's like, ah, damn it.
Yes, it's in perfect universe.
Ambassador. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm hearing some distortion. You're kind of coming in and out.
Okay,
What, like
sorry.
roboting?
Yeah.
Okay, that does. I've gotten some. Had a few comments. Am I sounding better now?
Yeah, you do now.
Okay, I may just have to put the mic closer to me. I'm using it for those of you who don't know. I recently upgraded my mic, and I sometimes have to move the mic a little bit closer and everything, so y'all hear me properly. My apologies.
Is it like a wireless?
Nope, it's a UBS or USB. Words, letters, sounds, phonics. So, as long as if I'm sounding better now, okay.
Yeah, you sound good now.
Okay. It could, like I say, it just could be the fact that I had the mic a little too far away from me and I wasn't coming in clear. So, anyway, back on topic. But of course, you have Brother Theo and all his monks come in, and I love the back and forth between Ivanova and Brother Theo. And she's like, why do you want to live here? He's like, well, you live here. She's like, no, I'm stationed here. I have to be here. No one wants to really live here. And he's like, well, we do. And she's like, why? Because we have a calling. We want to learn all the names of God and everybody's interpretation of it. And of course, that does get picked up and everything in a couple episodes with passing through Gethsemane. And Brother Edward. But, everybody in this episode has a certain degree of conviction for whatever they're what they're doing. Obviously, you have the Mad Bomber who has his conviction. You have Brother Theo and his group who have their convictions. You have Lanier who, because of his convictions, saves Londo's life. And then, of course, you've got... there was one other group. I'm trying to remember who it was. You had Jakar, who has his convictions about seeing Londo dead.
And Londo has his convictions of like, I don't... like, oh boy, yeah. Poor man. He's reaping what he sows right now. Because who else could control the leech of what is it? Mordred, or not Mordred? I'm thinking Arthurian legend now. Like no, Mordred or not now. No, brain's not working. Mordred, there we go. Blah. Go brain.
Go brain, go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who can possibly? Yeah, I'll pop Colin Smith's. Every villain is reasonably well-rounded. What a novel idea.
Yes, that was the word I was trying to get out. Morden.
Yes, thank you, Colin. That's one of the better things of B5 combining the A and B plots together, yeah. And I do want to comment on one little thing. Did anybody notice that Shang Tsung from the first Mortal Kombat movie was in this episode?
Yeah, Corey or Kerry Takagawa, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, he was in that. He was also around the same time. He was on a short-lived sci-fi series called Space Rangers.
I think it was Space Above and Beyond or something. No. It was Space something. Space Police. That was it. He played some sort of weird-looking alien.
Yeah, but it was Space Rangers or something like that. It wasn't police. It was the name had Rangers in it. I remember that.
Okay. I'll do some research and I'll do some digging. So I believe you because I do remember the show classic. So, but
ooh, I'm looking at some of the trivia. I did not realize that he was singing a little reprise from the Fishy song from Parliament of Dreams. Ooh, that's something interesting. Go Jakar! Okay. What a clap back there.
Yeah, and okay.
It's Space Rangers. It aired in 1993.
Yeah, I do remember that show. It came out just before I think Babylon 5 started. So
He's been
yeah,
in
there's a lot.
of stuff.
Yeah, he
He was
also
in Big Trouble in Little China.
no, he wasn't.
His wiki page says he was.
I don't remember him being in Big Trouble in Little China. I've seen that movie more times than I can count, unless it was a younger version of him.
It does say uncredited. I think it was just a bit part.
Yeah, he might be a background player or something. That's possible. He could have been one of the Wing Kong or something. So, but of course, we've got our crazy mad bomber who feels like everybody's got a pick out on him, and we're like, dude, grow the hell up. Sorry, I don't mean to diminish the fact that the guy killed a bunch of people during this episode, but can you say extremely unbalanced?
Yeah. He tried to justify it by saying like, "Oh, the times are just plain crazy. I'm just going along with the crazy." Well, it's definitely not a meme to blow people up. Memes I can understand.
Yeah, they spend much of the episode trying to figure out what his motivation is, what is his agenda, but it's really just him lashing out. There's no real intent behind it other than to spread fear and hurt people.
Yeah, just be a massive, stinky, smelly old jerk. So. But, the thing I will say about this episode, they were able to interweave all the different little bits and pieces of the episode together because they're trying to figure out, well, how the heck are we going to find this guy? And then Vaughn was like, guys, just chill. I got this. And of course, she brings in Brother Theo and the monks. So, and I just the humor in this episode that kind of counterbalances the severity of the situation is just, I thought was very well. It was well balanced because you've got them going to work and they're all standing around talking, and Brother Theo turns around and goes, "Shh! Like, this is our workplace. This is our monastery now. Please be quiet, or we will have to look at you very disappointedly." And let's be candid. What is one of the worst things that a monk or a nun could do to you? Look at you very disappointedly. Unless they're one of those kung fu monks who could kick your butt.
Yeah, I was wondering. I don't remember. Did they ever say in the episode what monastic order Theo and the others are a member of? Is it something made up for the show? Are they Franciscans? I was never really clear.
It might mention it in the one with Brother Edward. I think it's a denomination of Christianity, but I don't remember which one.
I want to say it's probably tied to the Catholic Church because if you remember back in season 1, they do have all the different representatives, and one of the representatives was from the Catholic Church. So my guess is this is obviously a Catholic order. Kind of digging into my education a little bit, based on their attire, I would want to say they're either Benedictine or they could potentially be Franciscan. Maybe they're one of those two.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
So,
wait a second. Here we go. Holy See Trappist Order, Trappist.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely a Catholic order.
Yeah, well, most would be so because there isn't there are no Protestant denominations that have monasteries or monks or anything. So, at least none to my knowledge.
Let's see, what's it saying? It says it's an order of Catholic Christian monks of the Catholic Apostolic New
Apostolics.
There we go. Yeah, see, because Florida woman murders the English language. Let's see, New Melleray Abbey or something like that.
New Mallory.
There you go. And that's actually a real thing. So Straczynski took a lot of stuff that's real on Earth and then plopped it right in there.
Well, you would want to have even though Straczynski is not a person of faith, he did know his stuff, and I like the fact that he did give he did use real world framework for the stuff he put into his show and everything, because everything that Brother Theo said to Ivanova from my studies, both independent and in seminary, does follow proper protocol. The brothers the monks that come there would have had to get permission from the bishop. They would have had to have their letters and everything else, and just everything was right on the numbers and everything with how they formed it. So, but the one thing that the one point in the conversation between Theo and Ivanova is, why are all these other guys with you? Because they believe as I do. They have conviction. They have a religious conviction. So, and they are there to fulfill their mission. And, the funny thing is, Ivanova's operating underneath the assumption that, well, they're going to be going around bothering all the alien races. And he's like, no, that's not our purpose. Those who want to come to us, they can come to us. Those who don't wish to, we will not bother. And anybody who wants to listen can listen. We're not going to be out there pounding the hallways and everything. And that's actually something very interesting. It is a form of missionary work, and it's there's a term for it. It's a ministry or a mission of presence, where you don't actively evangelize. More so, you make your presence known to the community or that you are present in, and then you allow you have an open door policy where people can come to you, or if they allow you to come to them, they can. And that's something that has become very prevalent and everything in the modern church and everything with many main denominations is they practice a mission of presence. And of course, he picked monks from several different disciplines and everything, academic and scientific and everything, to accompany him. But also those that had the same mindset, wanted to go on the same mission as him. So that was one thing that I loved about this particular part of this episode. Colin P. Smith, no, I haven't, but I think I have heard of that book. And Brother Theo does make reference, a kind of sideways reference and everything to that. Because if you remember something else that Brother Theo says to Ivanova, we are here to learn all the other names of God that our alien brothers and sisters might have for him. And it's interesting to see that even in 2260, religious belief does still exist. And not only that, but it has evolved. Especially with the discovery of extraterrestrial life. So, but I feel like I kind of run off of the mouth here, guys. What's
kind of funny is the Lost Tales thing with Lockley later does showcase, kind of like an exorcism on the station kind of deal. So he does eventually come back around to that stuff.
Interesting. I wasn't honestly aware of that. So.
Yeah, I happened to get a copy of it when I got the movie set a while back. So it's like, ooh, that's interesting. Even though he had very limited stuff to work with, the writing still speaks for itself, even if everything else was just like, wait, where did the rest of the sets go? Oh boy.
Well, guys, anything else about this episode or anything that we, excuse me, that we haven't dug into that you want to dissect? So.
Well, the fact that Lanier actually knows that Londo's walking down a darker path, but still went out of his way to rescue him from the explosion. Yes. Because that's something that Delenn would want him to do, and that's something he's also trained to do. Like, for all the stuff that we talk about, the Minbari being inflexible with certain things, they really are very self-sacrificial when stuff's on the line.
We live to serve.
Mm-hmm.
The friendship, I don't know if friendship's the right word really, but the friendship between Londo and Lanier is an interesting one, with the changes it takes when in the early part of the series where Londo is kind of, I don't know, trying to kind of take Lanier under his wing, so to speak. And then when he becomes more of a antagonist and their relationship changes.
Yeah, there was a very interesting through line for Londo in this episode, because he's just minding his own business coming off of a transport with Delenn and everything. And they have the explosion, obviously, and Lanier not only saves Delenn, but he takes the time to save also, obviously, Londo, and he gets very badly injured. And, of course, you had that very nice scene between Londo and Lanier and everything there in MedLab. And to the chat, our good friend MIA today and everything, Mountains of Elysium. Good to see you, bud. And give our best wishes to Mrs. Elysium, and we hope that she gets well soon, bud. And everything. So, and there's a good hubby cooking dinner for his wife. So good man. But yeah, I did find it interesting how Londo seemed kind of not 100% comfortable being there in MedLab with Lanier, considering the course his life has taken, but he still takes the time out to sit with Veer. And he's like, I need to do this because this guy tried to save my life. And the doctor there in MedLab lets him stay. Of course, she's like, please don't move the display screen where I can't see it. He's like, okay, sorry. So.
Yeah. And I guess in a way, it kind of just balances things out. I mean, Lanier is the type of guy that would have gone out of his way to do that for most people, which I guess this is skipping ahead slightly, but showcases the drastic change when you see Sheridan stuck behind the shielding of the White Star, and Lanier could easily open the door for him, but instead, out of it just showcases what's going to happen with Lanier later, like the compare and contrast.
Yeah, I would very much agree with that, because later on, Lanier's story arc takes a very odd turn, and we'll get to that when we get to that. So, but it's the little moments in a series like this that really show you just how talented everybody was. And it really is an amazing thing to see a pair of actors like Peter Jurassic and Bill Mummy, or Mummy, excuse me. He's having to lay there completely, utterly still. And I can only imagine what was going on in between takes, or maybe there were some gag takes. I'll have to go back and do some research, see if there maybe were any gag takes where Jurassic or Mummy were trying to crack each other up, because you get the impression that maybe there's a gag reel of Mummy there on that bed and everything in med lab, and Peter's trying to get him to break, and that's something I would be very interested to find out. So. And Colin P. Smith, he brings up, your turn to talk. If you don't, then I'll go, and we wouldn't want that. Colin, I'm not entirely sure. That could have been a cast model, but at the same time, I get the impression that maybe that actually was Bill Mumy and everything there on the bed. So,
well, it's entirely possible because for the most part, Ivanova and Lita, Tallman and Christian would often make such bad jokes with each other that cast would have to break them apart a little bit. It's like, stop making each other laugh. It's like, stop it. So they wouldn't be able to do their takes properly half the time. And I believe that. Sounded like most of this cast had pretty good relationships on and off the screen too.
Yeah, that's the impression that you got and everything, that there was no animosity between the cast members and everything on this show, and you really see it and everything and how they play off of one another. So, and I'll actually bring up Elysium's comment here. I actually had a really good chat with members of the real life religious order that the monks in this episode depicted. They have a monastery at Mount Mallory in Ireland. Yeah. Classic, you said it perfect. That's maybe you could hey, Elysium or anything, maybe in the private chat and everything, you could share some of those stories down the road. Colin, yeah, I think they just kind of rode around Christian's injury, and everything. And of course, they had her use a cane and everything for a while. So I think they kind of timed her real life injury, with some of the events in a couple of the episodes back in season 2. So.
Yeah, with the green versus purple. And according to the commentary on that episode, she basically said, yeah, that scream was real because the vibrations got way too close to my injury and it scared me, that type of thing. And it's like, oh boy. It's like, oh my God. But then again, most of this cast seemed to have had some sort of on-screen injury. I think even Jerry Doyle had to messed up his wrist somehow. That's why you saw him in that cast later on in The Doctor. They had to throw in that line about the Doctor where, oh yeah, I busted that in the fight when they tried to invade the station. Yeah, oops. But sometimes you gotta kind of do that with these shows.
Yeah. So, and hey, Elysium, we can talk about that next week when you're back. Hopefully you're back and everything. And so, absolutely, bud. And I'll pop up Colin's comment here.
Yeah, clown car.
JMS was good at including real life in the show. Jeff Conway apparently complained that his uniform didn't fit, so Zach was given a singular line.
Yep, like
a similar line.
Like the clown car part and like all the little things coming out of his butt all at once, and then that one the political keeper even managed to say, like, did you know your jacket doesn't fit? Oh God.
Oh mercy. So well, and I do want to comment for those of you who are here in the chat, those of you that'll catch us on the replay. If you happen to have HBO Max, this week and everything, they added Babylon 5 seasons 1 through 5 to their catalog. So if you do not have access to the series on DVD, or eventually they'll probably do it on Blu-ray, here's opportunity to go and catch that show, to go check the show out and everything. And if you are a fan of good sci-fi, as I've said often, Babylon 5 is one of the best examples of well-written, well-acted science fiction drama, anything from the 90s or just about any decade, really. So, and if you do not have HBO Max and you have the means and you have the accessibility to it, I'm not going to say go do anything that would be considered unethical. Get you a subscription, because just having HBO, just have them having it on there. Oh, okay, Elysium. I'll pop his comment up here. JMS tweeted about it. It has been remastered. Yeah, I did notice that for HBO Max, and he is thrilled. Hey, that's great. I'm glad he was happy. I sometimes have properties that belong to another person, then a studio comes in and tinkers with them, and you're like, how does the person feel? And it's nice to hear the JMS was good with them doing the remaster on the effects. And I will say you can tell a massive difference with the digital effects.
Well, that, and yeah, if they're just giving it a little facelift, I don't mind. But sometimes you catch some people's reviews. It's like the graphics and the sets aren't end all be all to a show. If you don't have the writing and acting there, it's just empty.
Yeah.
So,
but in this, I think, Fiona, I think we can all agree, and Classic Balmains chime in here. I think we can say they have not tinkered with any of the scenes. They have not tinkered with the dialogue. All they have done is gone in and gave the graphic effects a remaster, and it does look significantly better. So,
well, I actually haven't seen the remastered version, so I can't say.
Okay, and that's fair. Well, just speaking for myself and anybody else in the chat, if you happen to have HBO Max and you want to give your thoughts on it, by all means, share and everything. But I have seen the remaster, and it does look far, far better. So, yeah, and I'll pop up. And yeah, Colin, I actually have heard of that series. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I may check it out at some point. Yeah, and that is a fair criticism because, well, back in the 90s, they didn't have access to the graphic, the CGI that we have now. So, and Louis X Sparrow, I am sorry to hear that. Hopefully, Warner Media or Warner Brothers, whoever will get off their butts and get Max or anything accessible to y'all, because I'll just say y'all are missing out on a lot of good stuff and everything if you don't have access to some of the content that they have over there on the service. So, but well, I think honestly we're going to go and wrap up here because we've pretty much broken down the episode. I mean, I know we didn't really talk about the bomber all that much, but obviously the station didn't go boom. And let's just be now. If y'all want to discuss that some, we can. I don't care either way. So.
One thing it did showcase that how Sheridan and Garibaldi are working better together.
Yes,
yeah.
I would agree with that. And it does show that forensic analysis and so on does still exist, like I said, in the year 2260. So, but it's just they've got better technology now. So.
But yeah, even just a little bit of the remaster, because I'm looking at a little clip of it. Yeah, the colors are brighter, and you can see more detail.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they didn't mess with anything else. So it's like, yes, please don't give it kind of any reimagining or any other kind of facelift other than just to spruce it up a bit. I'm like, there we go. That's it. That's all it needs.
Yeah, I know with anybody, they're going to be, like I said earlier, people are going to be worried that the studio's going to come in and tinker. But from what I've seen, and I've checked out, like I said, I checked out the episode Convictions just to rewatch it and everything. and I watched it, and had just watched it on my DVD. No scenes were cut, no dialogue was cut, nothing was taken out, anything that shouldn't be there. Everything was there that should be. So I'm thinking it's just a surface level facelift. So nobody go getting your torches and pitchforks. So,
Well, I
Mhm.
did a video about the whole issue of whether or not they're gonna, kind of reboot the Star Wars sequel trilogy and all that. And Fiona Wolf actually commented on it, and I sent a reply to her that because she said, "I'm glad that Babylon 5 doesn't have this issue. They haven't tinkered with it or all that. They've left it alone because they really don't value it that much."
Yeah, it's the redheaded stepchild that's locked in the basement. That's okay. You can keep it that way.
And I was thinking, now that they put it up on HBO Max, if it pulls good numbers and does well for them, don't be surprised if you start hearing talk about a Babylon 5 reboot here in the near future.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm playing fencer or flip-flopping. If they want to do it, fine. I'm not going to get a torch and pitchfork and start going on a rampage or anything. But for me, the series as it is, despite some issues I had with the truncated seasons 4 and 5, the show told a very good story. It told a well fleshed out story, and I was happy with its resolution and everything. So,
Yeah, and even if, say, worst case scenario happens, they probably would. JMS probably wouldn't be directing any kind of like sequel series, or because he's often said that he doesn't imagine doing more Babylon 5 without his cast.
yeah, and unfortunately, much of the cast is no longer with us. And Colin P. Smith, I don't necessarily see that happening, really, to be honest with you. I mean, Babylon 5, it's not the same as some of the other things that are on HBO Max. I'm not going to go into that because I've already discussed that topic. I gave my thoughts on it. I've moved on since then. So, it's a sci-fi show. It's supposed to be thought-provoking, but it doesn't really cross any, I think, boundary lines that would require a kind of content warning. I mean, there's nothing else on Max that I watched thus far that has a content warning, except for that one particular movie, Gone with the Wind. Other than that, I have not seen anything else. Yeah, and and there is a reason. There is a reason why the show is so well remembered and it has such a dedicated fan base. And it's a show that can be reintroduced now, decades after it's been off the air, and maybe a whole new generation of B5 fans will emerge from it. So
This might be a stupid whammon moment, but looking at the situation here with how colorful everything is now, Jerry Doyle has nice eyes. Look at that. Look, you can actually see how blue his eyes are now. What?
Yeah, they've been able to go back and clean up the video, obviously. So, and I did notice that myself. Of course, Jerry Doyle does nothing for me.
Poor man got bolder every season.
Chloe Christian. What'd you say, Classic?
I was gonna say I can't tell. I'm watching my DVDs, so I really can't tell.
I mean, yeah, now you could actually tell, like, even just a little bit of different. Yeah, Ivanova has different eye color. Sheridan does. Garibaldi, like, okay then, like, dang, because what was that one quote? The eyes are the window into the soul type of thing. I think even Babylon 5 said that at some point, but I don't remember what episode. But yeah, well worth it. I'll get it on Blu-ray when it hits.
Yeah, and I would imagine sometime this year it will come out on Blu-ray. So, and to the chat, Neon Sci-Fi, good afternoon and everything, or good evening. Glad you could pop in and everything, and I'll pop your yeah, I'm surprised there isn't a reboot yet. They're already talking about Battlestar Galactica getting another reboot. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that because I have Peacock, and Peacock has all 4 seasons of the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and oh my gosh, that show was so freaking good. Oh my word. And I don't know how they're necessarily going to reboot it again. I mean, because you had the original, and well, the original is the original, and then you had the reboot, and the reboot was so darn good. I don't know I don't know how you reboot something that was so critically well received and well received by the fan base and by the general public. So,
to be fair, though, I think I like the campy, more optimistic bent of the original over the more gritty, because a lot of stuff nowadays does go more towards like, it's gotta be gritty and realistic. What's this corny, optimistic bullshit you want? It's like, I wants it.
Well, I would agree somewhat, but I think part of why so many people like that series is because when it was done, because it's about getting 15 years old now, or over
roughly
a decade anyway, and that whole thing wasn't so completely overdone the way it is now back then, I think, because it was pre Game of Thrones.
Yes, it was very much pre Game of Thrones and everything. And Fiona, I do understand what you're saying with the gritty realism.
Because a lot of that, yeah, it's like the pendulum shift has gotten to the point where it's like the reason why some of these deconstructions were more effective back then is because you had a lot of the regular archetypes to go off of, and they were very hale and hearty, and you still had plenty of that on screen. Now it's just like the news is depressing, our entertainment's depressing. Please give me a break. That's why I'm writing up a protocol, because I need a break, man. I need a break. So that's why I watch Babylon 5. That's a break, because it does have darker moments, but it has a lot of lighter moments too.
Yeah. Well, and I think this would be a great debate to have sometime. Everything. Maybe I'll put together a thumbnail, and put together a stream, everything, where we can talk about the whole thing of when can a series or a movie be too gritty and too realistic? Where do you strike that balance and everything? And that might be a really good conversation to have. So, at some point.
Yep, probably.
And Beer 31 says, if I want realism, I'll just read the news. And you know what? Hey, I'm not saying I disagree with you all. Everything. I don't have a problem with the gritty realism of some shows or some movies. Everything. But I do like the escapism of shows and movies as well and everything. So
it's just nowadays a lot of art direction goes in like, oh, it has to have this. It's like what sometimes I complain about on my channel, where it's like the wondrous and fantastic versus people that want to do this mundane manifesto of destroying like the sense of wonder and childlike, trappings of older shows. It's like there's a reason why I go back to that, because I sometimes just want unfettered optimism.
And you know what? And there's a place for that as well. But I think there is a way that you can strike that balance with gritty optimism or gritty realism, and have an optimistic outlook on the media that you're watching or you're reading or whatever the case may be. So I think there is a way to do both. It takes a very talented mind or group of minds to pull that off. And I think one of the better representations of that is, for one, Babylon 5, but also the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. And from what I hear and everything, I don't know this for certain because I've never watched the series. I would like to at some point watch the series. I've heard that The Expanse is another one of those series that does kind of strike that balance well. If not perfect, it may not be perfect, but it seems to be. It seems like a lot of people say The Expanse is one of the better sci-fi series out there right now, and I would be, I'd be interested to give it a look. So,
Me personally, I dropped The Expanse after book 5 because it started moving away more from like the overall cosmic elements of them figuring out what the photomolecule was and like what else it has changed versus, well, oh, humanity's fighting each other again and killing each other again. I see. Yeah, but again, some people, that's their wheelhouse and they want more of it. Me, I want to move more away from that. So
Yeah, and and that's perfectly fair. And Colin P. Smith brings up, for me personally, there's only one reboot that really matched the original and said originally comes from my childhood, Captain Scarlet. That's a show I'm not familiar with, Colin. I guess that's from over in your neck of the woods more so than mine. So, I'll pop up Elysiums. I think Babylon 5 should stay as it is. No one wants the Lumati who run the entertainment industry to say Babylon 5 next time my way. Oh, Elysium, that's a good one, man. That is a good one. So, anyway, the Lumati that I think was it in season 2? Yeah, because we did that episode already, I think.
yep.
Okay.
Yes, the head Illuminati left this for you, Vanova. And she takes it out and it's like, oh, it's a twirly thing. Aha! So there you go.
Yeah, and I'll pull up Beer 31's comment. Shakar and Zahudum says, for me, the boundary between dark stories, does it have hope? Yes. Beer 31, I would agree. That is actually a great line.
Which is also the reason why I watch Fist of the North Star. Kin brings a lot of hope to that universe.
Honestly, and Fiona Gary from Nerdrotic is a huge Expanse fan. Yeah, when I used to watch him and everything, he would talk about the Expanse and everything very highly. So, and he reckons that the series got better in the last book. So, and to the chat, Excelsior UK, good afternoon, or well, rather good evening, beings where you're at and everything. Good to see you, man, and thank you for popping in. Did somebody say Stingray or Stingray? Sorry. And sorry, I had blistering buffing issues. Captain Scarlet is from the late great Gary Anderson of British television. I guess that explains why I've never heard of it. So, anyway. Well, folks, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap up here, but Vienna Classic, thank you again for joining us. I mean, I know we were a couple short, but great conversation as always. And look, as always, look forward to next week. So, I know you kind of did a plug earlier, Classic. Do you want to do one here, or do you just want to leave the one you did this morning or earlier this afternoon as your
Sure.
plug?
I'll plug it right quick. So my channel is Classic Comics. I review comics as well as genre TV shows, movies, and I should have a review of the latest issue of Suicide Squad, which is part of DC's Future State event up here, hopefully in a couple of hours.
Excellent.
And you can find me on Twitter at Comics Classic also.
Yeah. Vienna, you got anything coming up?
Well, Mountain's actually linked our channels already.
Oh,
so,
did he?
yeah. So
Okay,
on the channel, I rant about books and things, and then on my blog, I'm just writing. It's like, I want uplifting science fiction and superhero stuff. There's no deconstruction over there. Just a lot of hokey, old-fashioned humor and things that make me laugh. And a whole lot of space dogs. Yeah, there you go.
And very quickly to the chat, MB Geek, good to see you, Geek. Thank you for popping in, bud. We're actually getting ready to wrap up, but I'll make sure and tweet out and share out the link and everything so you can get to the replay. But thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. I really do appreciate it. And as always, smash that like button and share it. And of course, If you come across this stream and you enjoyed this conversation and you're not subscribed to the Ambassadorial Wing, consider joining this community. Oh, here's Elysium.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course.
Hello.
Hey,
sorry,
Elysium.
guys.
Yes.
No, it's okay.
She's doing much better, so I kind of said I'd pop on for a few minutes, and I said, right, gotta say hello.
Okay, well, we were actually getting ready to wrap up, so but we'll give you the floor for a few minutes. So
You can actually see that the signs say Med Lab on the bed now because the HD upgrade.
So, and thank you guys for your prayers earlier. She's feeling in much better form now. So, thank you.
glad to hear that. Truly.
And I think I was mentioning in chat earlier that I've met some of the actual monks who were the real life equivalent, and they're really great guys. And some of those, I think it's the same order. They work in part of their charism is they go out into the public and just work with people and learn their experience and work with them and meet them where they are. So it was lovely to see that depicted so well on screen.
Yes, I would agree wholeheartedly. So, yeah, and again, I have to say, I've said this numerous times about Straczynski. The fact that even though he's an atheist, if I remember correct, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yes.
he shows a level of respect to people of faith and the whole concept of being people of faith. And he's not like some other atheists who are very antagonistic or very hostile towards others, towards Christians or really anyone of religious belief. And I really have to applaud him for that restraint. And it could be just his mindset. And if that is the case, then you know what? I'm happy to say that as a person of faith, even though he isn't, I'm glad that he could handle material as respectfully and as thoroughly as he did. So,
yes, I think he's like Jakar, that sometimes the cycle of anger and violence has to end. And that's where he came from with atheism. Because to be fair, atheists were on the receiving end of Christians and religious for a long time. They did their thing back, and someone has to stop, and we have to meet each other with respect, because otherwise we won't change minds. And I think the depiction of religion on screen is Jakar in action.
yes, I would wholeheartedly agree. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Classic.
I was just going to agree with you.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, we are going to wrap up here and everything. But again, thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. I do want to let you all know, probably sometime tomorrow evening, I am going to do a live stream and everything. I'm going to discuss the latest episode of WandaVision. Again, I'll tweet, as I mentioned earlier today, I'll tweet it out on social media. I'll send out notifications on the social media as to what time. And if anybody's free that has watched WandaVision, wants to join me, just get a hold of me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and let me know. So anyway, y'all have a great evening or a great afternoon wherever you're at. And until next time, these are the ambassadors signing off.